Legion Systems, Episode 15, August 14th, 2016.
Huzzah, adventurers! Welcome to Loot Table, your one source for all things online gaming. With your host, Caeleste, Tannlin, Lucitie, and Flattuss. So pull up a chair, adventurers, and share in the loot.
Live from Desert Rain Studios, talking about all things fun and interesting in the world of online video games, connecting gamers with the game they play. Won't you please pull up a chair and join us at the Loot Table? Loot Table is a live video game podcast recorded on Sundays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern at twitch.tv/loot_table. I'm one of your normal weekly regular hosts, Tannlin. With me, we have two of the other normal weekly regular hosts. Give them a second to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Kai.
Hi, I'm Flattuss.
Luci, it would be our normal fourth host, but she is off this week. She's enjoying a vacation that I think we could all be a little jealous of.
Yeah.
I'm just jealous. She's gonna eat roasted pig and have pineapple. That's all I want. My life is roasted pig and pineapple.
Right? Go for some fat rabbit and roasted pig. maybe some moss.
So, we have a lot to cover in this episode. So I'm going to try and keep us going and moving on, forward with the conversation. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night long. One of the things that we do every show, we call patch notes. Patch notes are our clever and witty name for what is basically the news of the online video game world. It's the news. It's our news segment. We call it the patch notes. No big deal. The only major news that we've got going on is that the International of 2016, which is the Dota 2 championship video game tournament, concluded yesterday after I think it was like 2 weeks of competition. And the reason we bring this up is because the prize pool altogether is $20 million, of which the first place team, which is a Chinese team called Wings, won $9 million out of that pool. Second place was Digital Chaos, and third place was Evil Geniuses. I went and actually compared the international to like professional golf tournaments, and the prize pool for the Masters in Augusta, Georgia is I think that I don't know for sure if it was larger or smaller than the international, but I do know that the first place team in the international won more than the winner of the Masters. That is how big esports is becoming. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Flattuss to talk a little bit about No Man's Sky launch. It launched, what day was it that it launched on PC? It was the 12th, right?
Yeah, Friday. It was no bueno. It was not good. It was hella broken. Like Arkham City levels of bad. Like that's how bad. Like it was bad. And it took, I mean, not that Hello Games didn't respond right away, They didn't like the fans were like the Reddit thread was exploding, like people trying to get fixes. Nvidia was contacted by like Nvidia even stepped in on the Reddit thread, was like, we're checking now and see if it's us, and then they came back, they're like, no. AMD was like, we can't figure it out as well. So I mean, it was just a bad launch. Even my friend who was messaging me was trying all these different fixes, and like he finally figured one where he had to go into like the arsonist chat, literally unplayable, no sarcasm. Like, I had a friend that had to go into a file and like disable like a thing that he can actually run it, and somewhat like that doubled his frame rate, and it's somewhat playable for him, so he's keeping it. He was going to refund it, but I mean, they're working on it. Like, the last thing we saw tweeted by Hello Games is that we've on the 13th was that we've been here all night and we're still working out on getting older AMD CPUs and more fixed. So they are working on it. It's just, I know the terrible thing is that I know we're not doing a do better today, but if I had to do better, it was don't push back your game an extra while and release a patch and it'd still be broken on launch. I'd rather you say
that actually is a pretty good one. That, you know, if you're going to push it back, just keep pushing it back because you only get one chance to launch your game.
Yeah, and
I have a do better.
Oh man, yes.
Are you going to do the do better this week?
Is it me? The do better.
Is it? We didn't talk about this at all before the show, so I don't know what she's talking. Like,
surprise, do better.
No. We actually did discuss it. It's just that we weren't going to address it as a do better because we didn't really discuss it. I will. The do better.
Okay, we'll get to it at the end of the show.
Whatever it was, it just flew into my eye. Just like.
All right, so moving right along, the main conversation that we are going to have this evening is about World of WarCraft, their newest expansion, Legion, but specifically talking about the systems that they've already launched the systems. So the expansion is not live. The pre-expansion events are currently live. The heroic class that they announced for the expansion is in the game. But it's not actually... this is the weirdest expansion rollout that we have actually seen, or at least in my opinion, because the expansion is not launched, but it's launched. Like, because the only thing... I mean, they're already moving the story of the game forward, but we're not going to talk about the story. We'll talk about that later. All of the systems are in the game. It's weird.
It's spooky. They're using some sort of wizardry over there, Blizzard.
Yeah, but let's just get right into it because I had no idea what they were planning on, and they blew my mind. Like, I'm like, what wizardry is this? What's going on here?
So I mean, what do we got? Like the main, like, well, I guess we're not doing a main story, are we?
No. We're not going to talk about story. We're going to.
So how do we explain like how they're launching? Like, are we allowed to discuss demon invasions? I mean,
yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, because it's pretty much out there already that the expansion is about the invasion of Azeroth by the Burning Legion. They're coming in to try it and take over the planet for like what, the third time. And so right now in the pre-expansion launch events, they're having these demon invasion events. And at first I thought that it was going to be like the Rift dynamic system events, but they're not. They're more static than that. What I know about them so far is that there's only 6 of them. They are 6 different zones that will get invaded. Only 4 show up at a time. 2 on each continent, and they're on like a 4-hour timer so that you can see them on other servers if you want to go over to other servers, but you can only get loot from them on that timer for your server.
But can I still get XP though? Because because let me tell you about some speed leveling.
And let's talk about. I can't talk with the dogs. So what happens is basically the zone goes into a zone-wide event, and there's it's when I say it's like the Rift system.
It is like the Rift system, because I've played it. It is like the Rift system, where it does pop up, and there's different phases, but there's a lot more movement in those phases than I think than the Rift system. And now, to be honest, I've not played Rift since Rift's second expansion, so I don't know if the Rifts have changed or if the dynamic content in Rift has changed so that it like kind of travels across the world and makes you want to spread out and come back in. And
yeah, so the first event phase is basically in one center location in the zone, and they basically spawn up ads and you kill the ads. It's pretty generic. There are small NPCs, there are big NPCs, and then there are the elite NPCs. It's not that inventive, except for two things. The first thing is that for the first time, the NPCs in the environment actually come to life and are involved in the invasion, which I've never. Not in Warcraft have I seen them this reactive, because normally if you're a horde and you go into an alliance city and you attack a guard, it randomly spawns these, guards that come out of nowhere and attack you until you leave. These are different because you can see like the NPC vendor that's sitting there. All of a sudden, like if they're a mage, they start casting spells, and so they're not like some generic spawn or some generic NPC guard that spawns out of nowhere. No, it looks like someone that is part of that village or city coming to life and fighting back. The second part is that there are more ways than just combat to be involved in that part of the invasion, because sometimes the NPCs will get wounded or they'll be scared, and so you click on them to like stop their wound or to heal their wound or to encourage them to fight back. And it adds, like, even though it's a static thing, like it's not that, like randomly generated, procedurally generated in a very large and chaotic environment, it makes that event seem very, very alive. And that's just the first phase.
It's called rescuing, by the way. They actually have a term for it. When you click, like when you hover over the NPC, it pops up a little dialogue box. This is rescue. So
the second stage is basically in that same centralized location. It spawns 2 lieutenants at the same time and then 1 boss. And you basically fight them all down. One of the things that I forgot to mention is that these events, the most innovative feature of them is that if you are a level not at max level, you see them at your level. If you're level 20, you see them as level 20 mobs. If you're level 100, you see them as level 100 mobs. That isn't to say that they phase you so that all the level 20 players don't go into their own event and all the level 100 players go all into their event. No, everybody is involved at the same time. And it's weird wizardry in game programming, because I've also, if you play it, you'll realize what they've done is that you do proportional damage and you do proportional healing. So if you're like level 77, I was out there with my paladin who happens to be a tank, and I was actually tanking the boss because I was actually doing enough threat that I was performing in my role. And so then the second thing I wanted to investigate was to see if someone healed me, like, because of level scaling. If a level 100 casts a heal on a lower level toon, it should be drastically overpowered. Like, it should just be like max out your health or whatever, but it's not the case. It actually scales with your level. What I didn't get a chance to do is to see that if it scaled the other way, so that if you were a low-level healer and you were trying to heal a higher-level character, did it proportionally heal them so that, if this, one particular heal on an average, character my level heals them for about 5% of their life. Does it do that on a level 100 as well? I didn't get a chance to see that.
It does not scale up, it scales down.
Okay, that's cool to know. The other thing that's interesting to know is that if you're on a PvP realm, the other players do not scale down. They are level 100, and if you're not max level, they will wreck your day, and you will have a bad time.
Oh, I have also learned that during the demon invasions, there's a ship up in the air that's like dropping these demons in buildings. Don't fly into the ship. Don't think you can be cute and go destroy the ship. The ship will shoot your ass down.
I didn't even think about that. It will shoot you down?
It will shoot you down.
Does it just target you?
Yes, it will. I got close enough to the ship that I could have like reached out and almost touched it, so to speak, on a level 100 character. With an average eye level of a little over 700, which, by the way, isn't stellar. It's not bad. It's not great. It's a little over eye level 700. One shot, 3/4 of my life. Dive, 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 and I ran.
So
awesome.
That's the first two phases. The third phase is the zone-wide part of the event, where buildings, demonic structures pop up out of the ground, and you have to go and destroy them. And bosses will spawn all over the zone, and you go find them and kill them.
Our background is actually one of the buildings that will spawn.
It's very green.
Yes, it's definitely the very green expansion. So that's the third phase. And then the fourth phase is one final big boss will spawn at the location, and you fight them off. And that's why I say that it's not very. It feels very dynamic, but it really is very scripted. The advantage that Warcraft has right now that makes it feel very alive and very scripted, or very alive and very dynamic, is that it's on a timer, and they only have to do this for a couple of weeks before the expansion launches, and then everybody that is doing these invasions right now will be running off to the actual expansion zones that they're adding for the game. So they don't have to keep you interested in doing invasions for like 6 months or whatever. They only have to keep you entertained by doing these for a couple of weeks, and then they'll move on to the next thing.
But aren't they ramping up the invasions closer to
Yes.
the launch? So we should see more than, was it 2 zones, 3 to 4 zones right now?
It's six zones, but they only spool up like 4 of them at a time.
So we should
2.
see a lot more zones then, hopefully starting next Tuesday, I would think. Like,
When they say they're ramping them up, they haven't really explained to us what they mean. So they could so currently there's 2 active across 6 zones. So it'll be 2 in any of those 6. I have seen 1 on each continent, and then I have seen 2 on the same continent before. They haven't said that, like, oh, we're adding more zones to this, or if they're making them more difficult. But there's an achievement for completing all 6 demon invasion zones. I don't think they're adding more zones because there's already an achievement for that. They would add another achievement for it.
That makes sense. That they only occur in 6 locations, and once you've done 1 invasion in each one of those locations, you earn an achievement. And so it wouldn't. I mean, they could do it that way, but it makes more sense just to speed them up so that they're happening more regularly,
or more viciously.
I mean, we can say what the zones are. It's Northern Barrens, Azara, Tanaris Desert, and then that's on Kalimdor, and then over on the Eastern Kingdoms, it's Westfall, Dunmorrow, and Hillsbrad Foothills. And oh my God,
Westfall.
Yeah, Westfall. Westshire?
Westshire?
It's
Wait,
Westfall.
It's Westfall, okay.
West Ham.
Anyway, so one of my favorite things about World of Warcraft is the open, unfair, chaotic world PvP. And when the invasion event happens in Hillsbrad Foothills, guess what that means? It means Alliance are showing up in Terran Mill. And if you're on a PvP server, they're flagged for PvP. So I have just as much fun ganking Alliance as I do completing the invasion events. It's fun.
I'm sorry, but we should be a unified force against the Legion. There is no reason for you to gank the Alliance right now. We have both suffered great losses. Kill the Legion, save the Alliance for later.
My Forsaken is like fresh meat. Num 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 num.
I don't know about that. I was over in, I can't remember where, like near Westfall, I think, and someone popped a damn whisper, and I was like, yay, okay, I guess someone's just gonna be a Dreadlord and stomp on the Horde while we're trying to fight a team.
Right.
Thanks, guy.
Yeah. So in Tanaris and Hillsbrad Foothill, because those are not faction-controlled zones, you're automatically flagged for PvP on both factions. When you get to Dunmorrow and Westfall and Northern Barrens and Ajara, because those are technically owned by certain factions, if that is your home faction, you're not automatically flagged. So it makes it a little bit safer. And that would be my recommendation if you want to power level some alts, is to stick with your faction's invasions and just hang out and kill some demons.
Unless you're not on a PvP server and then go to town.
And if you're not on a PvP server, it doesn't really matter what zone you go to. Just don't flag yourself.
Or flag yourself and have fun.
That's my recommendation.
Of course it is.
All right. So the exciting part about this is not these events. It's a proof of concept for things that they can do in the future. And we should see this technology that they developed in the Legion zones. And I don't want to speculate too much on what all they can do. I just say that this technology is very, very intriguing to me, because one of the questions that we fundamentally ask about MMOs is that how does the veteran player connect with the new player, and both of them have a meaningful experience. And this is by far one of the most involved ways. The only, as I said though, one of the things is that it can probably only stay a novel idea for about 3 or 4 weeks before people get burned out on like, oh, it's the same thing over and over again. However, just the idea that I can hop on a max level tune and I can engage in these invasion events because I want the gear, because I want the shards, and a low level, it can jump in and be right there in the event with me because they need the experience and they need the gear and they need the shards, is pretty cool.
Yep. Oh, and shard gear scales down. It doesn't scale up with you as you level, but it scales down to whatever level you are.
It awards level appropriate gear. And that's one of the things that's one of the things that they said that we will see that in the Legion zones themselves, is that as you're leveling from 100 to 110, the quest rewards they give you will be level appropriate for whatever level you are. They're doing away with level dependent zones, so that like if you're level 90 and you're in Mists of Pandaria, you go to Dread Waste and that's where you get your quests from. Or if you're 80 and you're trying to bust into Cataclysm, you go to, the Highjaw zone. They've done away with that, and then they're like, here's the world, have fat, have at it, go wherever you want to go.
And if you want to spend all 10 levels in one single zone, if there's enough quests to support it, you can. I don't know if there's enough quests in each zone to support that, but yeah.
We'll talk about world quests because that might answer the question. But before we get to world quest system, let's talk about the pop-up quest dialogue system. This was a method of telling a story that was originally in Warcraft 3, and it was basically as you're playing through the game, at the lower part of your screen, a pop-up dialogue would pop up with a talking head, and they would say something, and they would talk to you, and then they would disappear, and it would be, you know, like, rally the forces and go do this, or you know, whatever. And they've integrated that into World of Warcraft. You see this right now if you're doing the invasions, so that as you know, as they're transitioning from one phase to another, or you're in the middle of a phase, the NPCs in the zone will talk to you. And it's something new. It's something old, but we've never seen it in World of Warcraft, and they're bringing it in.
It's what Blizzard does. I mean, a lot of these systems I'm seeing so far are, some of them are just ripped right out of Diablo. Just Diablo ripped out, like the upgrade system. There's some certain like Diablo systems that I'm like, I bet you they were like, can we borrow that?
I mean, it makes sense if you're a game development company and one of your, you know, your teams interact, they explore ideas, and probably the Warcraft team was like, that's a really nice idea.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do that.
Yeah.
Go.
I would just like to say that so far this has been the most fun I've had in an expansion pre-launch ever.
Yeah.
And I've had access to beta before. I didn't get Legion beta access, and I've had beta access to two or three previous expansions. I don't remember which two. And didn't enjoy any of that. Damn, I wish I would have gotten Legion beta access, because holy crap, you're what, less than a week into pre-launch? Oh my god, it's so much fun.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to that a little bit in our closing thoughts. So this is like the fourth method of delivering a story for the developers, because prior to this we had your typical quest text system where you click on the NPC and it pops up a text box and you read the text and it tells a little segment of the story that's going on in the zone. Then there are the cutscenes, which, when done properly, really adds to the feeling of a game. And then there's the third one that we've seen in Warcraft, which is kind of like the voiceover acting that will happen at certain key points during a quest, where it doesn't distract you from what you're doing. So you don't have to click on anybody, but you'll see NPCs talking to one another after you've completed an event. And if you listen carefully, it might clue you in on what else is going on in the world. And so now they have the fourth way, which is the pop-up talking head box. So these are the tools that you will see in Legion.
I dig that. I just dig it. I think it gives you like, hey, who's that? Like, usually you don't pay attention to who's talking, but it tells you who it is, and they're like, you're just reading, like, oh, okay.
If they could get away from the big text block and just go to like the other three methods we talked about, I'd be okay with that. My only caution is that please, I will never forget the zone in Cataclysm Ulduar. Yeah, because there was like, if you did the Harrison Jones quest line, it was like a cutscene every 3 to 4 quests. Every 3 to 4 quests, there was a Harrison Jones cutscene, and it was awful.
Not in Ulduar, by the way. Ulduar was Wrath of the Lich King.
It was Uldum.
Okay.
Harrison Jones was terrible. Like, the first time you did it, like, this was fun, and then the second time or third time you do it, you're like, I want to kill Harrison Jones.
Wait, the first time it was fun? What?
Yeah, well, the first time it's like, oh, it's Indiana Jones, yay! Like,
what was cool about it? It was literally Harrison Jones versus the Nazis, and instead of the Nazis, it was the Twilight count, or the Twilight cult. That's what it was. The people that were, worshiping the old gods and bringing on the end of the world type people. And so like it was like, it was pretty interesting, but the cutscenes were annoying as hell, because it was like, I just want to play my character. I don't want to watch a movie.
More movies.
Okay, so the world quest system One of the complaints that people have had about World of WarCraft is the daily quests. Cataclysm had 4 or 5 factions, and each faction had daily quests, and the only way to gain reputation with those factions was to do the daily quests over and over again. Mists of Pandora was even worse. I actually, towards the end of Cataclysm, they introduced the Firelands daily quest system where it was tiered so that you would do tier 1 quests enough times, and that would open up tier 2 daily quests, and then there would be tier 3 daily quests, and finally when you got to the end you got an achievement and amount.
I'd like to just note that I hate daily quests so much that I'm still working on my Firelands dailies from 2 expansions ago.
Yeah, tier 1 here. Tier 1.
I'm finally on tier 2.
I didn't think I did. I did Pandaria. I did the Pandaria ones.
Yeah, it's the Molten Front, not the Fireland dailies. It's the
Pandaria was
Fireland.
right there, like the farm, like the ones right by the golden, whatever it was.
Golden Lotus.
Yeah, like right there. Like those weren't too bad because it was right there. Like literally, just flew over, did a couple quests, and you flew right back. You're done. Doug's trying to chat. I loved it. Love all capital LOVE dailies.
Meanwhile, Tannlin over here, I have the Crusader title for getting the freaking Argent tournament dailies done. I have the Stormbreaker for doing the Isle of Thunder dailies all the way, and then and all of the associated meta achievements for doing that, and the Flamebreaker. I freaking am so done with dailies. Like, give me a system that's more involved. I watched the Legion developers Q&A about the World Quest system, and one of my favorite things is they even admitted that it was a problem that you would do the same daily over and over and over again, where the same guy was caught and put into a cage and you had to bust him out. And there was an Argent tournament daily where you had to do that, and then there was the same Argent tournament daily where you had to kill the flying undead dragon every day. Got real old real quick.
I don't know. I started watching I didn't get through it all, but I watched the developer Q&A, and my favorite part was like when they started doing like instantly right into the questions. And the very first question is like, what are your plans? Like, is it like possible to release all new like World Quest? They're like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the World Quest system is basically, instead of having one NPC who gives you the same quest every day, they have they call it a bucket, and there's these bucket that they can put quests in and they can take quests out. And so they're going to have multiple buckets throughout the world. Different buckets will have different timers. So you'll see buckets that have like a 3-hour timer or a 6-hour timer or a 3-day timer or a 1-week timer. And every time you log off and log back in, you should see different quests that are available in that bucket. One of the things that they've promised, no, they didn't even promise. They want the player feedback, and they're saying when your bucket when these quests feel stale, let us know, because their own words, they have thousands of quests, and so all they have to do is go into that bucket and pull some of those quests out and put different quests in, and you should rotate right on through them. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but they're trying things.
Thousands of quests, eh?
I like that they are trying new things and are like, hey, if it sucks, tell us. Maybe we can fix it.
500 of those. Kill a bear.
Bring me bear butts.
Yes. Let me grease up the melon baller.
One of the things that we didn't talk about at all is that in Warlords of Draenor, they integrated, they streamlined the questing system so that no longer do you have quest items taking up inventory space. It's automatically counted. And so at least, you know, if you've got like 5 or 6 or a dozen different dailies and you don't complete that quest and you log off because fuck these dailies, I don't want to finish them. It's not like you like have like, you know, I've still got 4 bear butts and, you know, some rabbit feet and, you know, and orc ear in my inventory that I've been sitting on for the last week because I've never gone and finished the daily quest. At least they've eliminated that problem.
Do we have the artifact? I should just go terrible.
We have artifact weapons. Yes, and the appearance tab and the artifact weapons both are not alt friendly, and we will get to that. All right, so one of the other things that I thought that was important that I pulled out of the Q&A is that the world event system, it should be viewable by all of your friends. And so if you want to work together with your friends on your on the quests that are out there in the world, you can. And it's not like, well, one player has this quest over there and they want to do it for this reason, and this guy wants to do over there, go over this way. It shouldn't be like that. Everybody should have the same quests in their system. And they're going to be rewarded a little bit differently. You should see gear rewards that are actually worth incentivized properly to make you out and go and do them. You should see appropriate gold rewards. So like, hey, I really want a lot of gold. I can go and do those world quests. And so, I don't know. Maybe all is not wrong with the World of Warcraft.
That's the name of my next album. not all is wrong with the World of Warcraft.
We in the order that we wrote this up, we were going to jump into PvP systems, but I think instead of jumping into the PvP systems, we should jump into the artifact weapon.
Yeah, let's go into that.
All right. Well, the first thing about the artifact weapon, it is taking the place of your glyphs.
Yes, but I think it does more than what glyphs do, because it also unlocks abilities and stuff like that. So, or like things can proc twice, and
that's still kind of the way that glyphs used to work. It used to be that you would take your talents and they would modify or add abilities. And then your glyphs would modify them and even further, so that you could kind of customize your play style the way that you wanted to. For example, if you don't like pets, you can choose talents to eliminate your pet, but compensate for it appropriately. And like those are always my favorite talents to take because I don't like pets for my players. Pets.
I don't think you get that option anymore. Unless you, not even. Go ahead.
Frost Mage, their tier 1 talent is now to remove their water elemental.
Yeah.
But you're right, because hunters used to have, pets, and now it depends on what specialization that you take. But even for a demonology warlock, if you don't want a pet, you go demonology and you take Remora sacrifice. You sacrifice your demon, you get more damage.
Bye, Billy. I was gonna say though, having watched, because I wasn't in beta, but going and watching people talk about how people prepping people for launch of Legion, going into beta, showing them how currently, even a few weeks out, because if beta's still going on, then. Which is a little weird that beta is still going on. We're a few weeks away from launch, and it's like, well, anything could change from now until launch, I guess. But the artifacts, some people were saying, hey, listen, I know a lot of people were saying, it's gonna suck for healers but apparently you can level an alt, and the item to upgrade because the item to upgrade your weapon is a consumable. So you can just hold on to it. So you can actually just level, not hold on to the consumable, switch over, and then just power level your healer one if you want to do that. That's just an option for you. But as the higher tiers go on your weapon, it is going to take some work. That is the thing, which I like. Not many other people are going to like that, but I am a very I need incentive in an MMO. And I think having a weapon that ultimately tells you, hey, listen, you need to put some work in to get this on alt and do this for your main. it's a good thing because that like it gives people like the incentive of like I need to go run dungeons, I need to go get out in the world and do world bosses, and like it puts people in the world instead of keeping them in one spot.
Yeah, you weren't playing, but
I was not.
A Hellfire Citadel, the legendary ring. Even playing solo, you could play through the legendary system or the legendary quest story to get your legendary ring. Once you had your legendary ring, you could upgrade it, but only if you were I wouldn't even say a hardcore raider. Only if you were a dedicated raider could you get it all the way up. And then, like, I don't know. But I mean, granted, this is like 6 months after they had, unleashed Hellfire Citadel. They allowed you to basically solo content your way into maximizing your ring. And the system went something like, on the last boss, if you killed the last boss of Hellfire Citadel raid, who is Archimond, it would give you a fragment. You use the fragment to power your ring, and it would go up a certain number of eye levels. And after X number of upgrades, it would max out. And it was a cool little bone to throw to the normal raiders that separated them from the more casual players. So I can understand where there's a little bit of contention where it's like, hey, I want the best stuff without having to commit to raiding 3 or 4 times a week.
They never said that you have to raid to get that weapon level, though. Like you can, it's a part of it, but you're not like the items and stuff that are, from what I can see, are all, you can get them out of dungeons, you can get them out from doing the world quests, you can get it, like it's all, they have the different avenues of options for everybody to level that thing out. I just think it's going to take work regardless if you're raiding or doing casual work. So it's just an incentive thing. Like, hey, you don't have to max it out, but if you want to max it out and unlock all the things for your weapon, then go out and do it. Because there has to be something, right? Like you can't just hand things out like, here's a cookie and here's a dozen cookies.
The thing is that what they can really do is they can really gate it for time. Like you can only do 1 upgrade per week, and so you log in, you get your 1 upgrade for that week, and then you log out.
Why not do like Final Fantasy 14, since I am an expert in that game, and why not like every so many patches and put a new part of the weapon in? Like, all right, well, you've completed this tier, here's this next tier, like so that way, like, hey, all right, my weapon goes like with the next, like maybe the raid patch, like you can get it so you can actually go out and.
Warcraft did that in Warlords of Draenor. The problem is that their patches were so spread out. Like, okay, so when you first got your ring, the ring was pretty much best in slot, but it wasn't the legendary ring. And then when they introduced the next patch, they introduced the next storyline, and if you went through that storyline, at the very end of it, you upgraded your ring, and your ring was pretty much best in slot, and so on until the very end. The problem is that when you're waiting 6-9 months for a patch,
that needs to change. Like in order for it to work, it needs to change.
It doesn't feel like you're it doesn't really feel like you're advancing your weapon in a steady pace. It feels like, well, I've maxed it. I'm done. And I have to wait for the next patch.
Why not then, if you're doing every 6 months, why not do like real quick? And I know we got a lot to talk about, but I'm going to try to bust this out as quickly as I can. Raid. Like weapon comes out at launch, perfect. And then a couple weeks raid, right? Usually that's how the mode. Then bam, you wait like a couple months. In between like the first major patches, do half patches, and then the half patches be like the weapon and stuff. That way you have time to level it in time for raiding, and everybody has more content to do. And you can, and then in those half patches, adjust the world quests. That way it's always like a constant flow of like stuff. That way it's like, all right, cool. 3 months major patch, and then in the middle of a 6-month gap you have like another, like, so it's always 3 months you're getting a patch of some sort that you have content to do. That way there's always like, oh hey, there's something new. Like it keeps people biting. Like it's like fishing, right? You're just letting out the lore and you're slowly dragging people in until the end.
Absolutely. And that's my issue. So I realized that, I mean, I do a freaking video game podcast. My ability to consume video game content is probably higher than the average player. But when the average player is complaining that they've no more, there's nothing more for me to do, that's when your MMO has problems. So they need to keep that content coming out steady enough that it feels like even the casual player has something to log in and do. Otherwise, the casual player just doesn't log in at all. They go find something else to do.
So, do you want to move on from the artifact? We could talk about the artifact weapons for another 20 minutes, but
right. Well, one of the complaints about the artifact weapon is that it is not. We don't think that it's going to be very alt friendly, because you're going to have to put in all of this effort in upgrading your one particular artifact weapon, and that's going to take up a lot of time where you don't have time to focus on upgrading the artifact weapon on your alts. The other thing that they've added that I thought was going to be a huge boon for players with lots of alts was the appearance tab, the appearance collection. But let me tell you, it is not as alt friendly as you'd think it is.
Yes, and
it is.
I'm so sorry. I forgot to mention, like, didn't they mention that, like, as the patch goes forward, if they found that people are struggling with leveling their weapon, that they have the technology to put in to help them catch? All right, just want to make sure I get that out there, that we don't like have to go back next week and be like, we are sorry because we forgot to mention this. So yeah, no, they just said that they do have the tech to the ability to zoom people up. But go ahead, tabs and alts and stuff.
Well, and the reason Kai disagrees with me, but the reason why I say that it's not very alt friendly, right, is that if you're running old content to collect appearances, right, and so if you're a paladin and you are running through and you kill the boss and the boss drops this piece of cloth, you would think that the piece of cloth would unlock, but it doesn't. It only unlocks if your character that you're currently playing specialized it. So even though a paladin can wear cloth, leather, mail, and plate armor, I'm not going to gender it, it will only unlock appearances of plate and weapons that they can use.
And that absolutely makes sense.
But it's not very alt friendly, because if I want to collect cloth appearances, I have to run it on a cloth wearer.
Yep. And if you want to use that as it's not alt friendly, well, I have this gear that you have to have a certain reputation to purchase, but my alts can't wear it. Why not?
And that's another reason why it's not very friendly.
But it's perfectly reasonable. If my priest can't equip a piece of plate armor, why should the plate that just dropped be allowed to be given to my paladin that wasn't even present? It doesn't make sense.
But if you earn a title on one of your characters, all of your characters can use that title. If you earn a mount on one of your characters, all of your characters can use that mount. Except for class specific mounts, like the Death Knights have one, the Warlocks have one, and Paladins have one, and I think that's it, right?
No, Demon Hunters.
Okay, well, Demon Hunters are kind of new, so I overlooked that. But as I was saying, though, that they've already created the attitude that if you unlock a certain, achievement, mount, title on one of your characters, all of your characters have it, except appearances.
The title Illidari isn't allowed to be used by any others.
Pardon?
The title Illidari that you get when you create a Demon Hunter is not allowed to be used by other characters because they're not Illidari.
Yeah, I'm saying that.
That's a lore thing.
If you want to get, tweet them, tell them that they're doing it wrong then.
Why can't my hunter be Illidari?
No, I understand that one. I don't disagree with that one. But if you feel like my paladin can wear all armor, therefore if I go out on my paladin and collect this gear, why can't all of my characters have access to it? Because what about the priest that can only wear cloth? If you do it in reverse, if you do it one way, then you should do it the other way too. Just because your paladin can equip every single piece of armor, how do you balance that and make it fair for the other classes.
It's true. I mean, it's unfortunate.
Take your. Oh, I guess the demon hunter doesn't work because they only wear cloth and leather. I don't know. I'm just saying that it's a lot easier to earn titles on certain classes than it is other classes.
That's true.
Yeah,
but
it is.
But within the realm of the tabs and the items, I mean, I get why. Like, a part of me gets why. Like, all right, if it's so alt friendly, why not take an alt? Like, if it's not alt friendly, like, you should be able to go on your alts, right? That's the point of your alts, is supposed to go do that stuff and gain the.
And here is where it becomes a giant clusterfuck, and it becomes micromanaging inventory. You run through old content, you get a lot of green drops. You don't have those appearances, so you want to collect them. Instead of just having run it on a paladin who can equip all of this stuff and equip it as I go. No, I don't. I have to finish it. I have to log out, or I have to go to a mailbox, mail it to the appropriate character who can equip it to unlock. And it's a giant pain in the ass. And it's not, I mean, it's like.
Yeah. I mean,
I've been doing that for years, so for me, it doesn't really bother me because that's what I like. I like running old content. It's fun. I'm weird. I get that. Like, I'm not a woo, let's go raid. Yeah, no. Like, I want to go kill Illidan a couple more times. Like, have him tell me that he's not prepared. Yeah.
I get it, but at the same time, like, I also get, like, I don't think at any point in this time in this game where I was like, well, unless you made it like you can right click and add to collection, I think that would be okay. Like, maybe a button that says right click. You don't have to wear it, but maybe a button that says right click, add to transmog collection if you don't already.
Or Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2, the moment that it enters into your inventory, it unlocks the appearance on all of your characters.
So the reason that they don't have it to where, like, the reason why you have to actually equip it is because it would be really easy for you to, like, just right click, add it to your appearance, not soulbound, go sell it on the auction house.
You can still do that.
Sure.
Or, well, you can't sell it on the auction house, but you can still sell it to the vendor. So it's not like it's a green item. If I can get 30 gold for selling it, woo, I got 30 gold for selling it.
There's some greens that'll sell for upwards of 4 and 5K because they're metal bikinis.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know. I've bought a few.
There's some weapons that are like, if you could still, I don't know. I like the whole system, but there's some weapons that I wish still existed in this game that don't, so I'll never get them. So I can't say. There was a sword. There was a sword, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was like rainbow. Like, when you first got it, it had like this aura on it that it was all rainbow in color. And it was like the peacock sword or something. It was like so crazy. It was a beautiful sword, like old vanilla WoW content sword, and it was awesome. And if someone has it still and sells it on the auction house, it goes upwards to like 2 million, 3 million easy. Like, that's no questions asked. That's how rare that item is.
I love that slut Mox.
I would like to point out that my husband should not be laughing at that. How I dress or how I dress my character doesn't make me a slut.
Don't worry, I know the
That's
arsonist.
Totally not. I don't care. That's not acceptable. That's not appropriate. No.
But you still have a problem with the plate mail bikinis on armor, or you just want the option to not be?
No. Wait, what? I hold issue with it being called a slut mog because it's a plate mail bikini. I'm not a slut because of the way I dress. That's what I hold issue with.
I'm a little confused.
Just move on. Move on.
All right, there's a new PvP system. And finally, Warcraft pulled their head out of their ass and normalized PvE and PvP gear. Gear is just gear. They've not tried to add resilience. Resilience did not fix it. They did not add PvP power. Or what was it? What was the latest? There was just item scaling. That if you had PvP gear and you went into a PvP environment, it scaled up to whatever. It was just, they basically normalized it all so that better gear is better gear. It does not matter where you got it from in a PvP zone or a PvP environment where you're like competing in battlegrounds or arenas. They take your average item level and they assign you stats based off your average item level. Then the other thing they did is that they removed the honor system. So they, or maybe you're still buying gear with honor. I didn't get quite get that clarified, but they've introduced a prestige system and a PvP talent tree.
Needed, just needed after all these years. Prestige systems from Call of Duty. I don't care what anyone says. That's an Activision Call of Duty clear. Like, hey, Activision, know that game? Yeah, well, we took something from Diablo, which is our game, but can we get that prestige system? Because that's kind of awesome. But I will say this: if I level up in a prestige system and it plays like rock and metal music every time I hit a level, I'm down. Like,
well,
yeah, Elite Tour Chieftain's a thing.
And I'm almost completely sure that the PvP system is actually on your character, that it doesn't unlock on your other characters. So it's, again, if you want to focus on one character for PvP, it doesn't make all of your other characters better for PvP. Again, I could, we're talking about, is it alt friendly or not? Is it not alt friendly? I can kind of see where this one makes sense in that, no, you really have to go do this stuff with your character.
I'm not into PvP, so I kind of don't really have anything to add to that.
The thing about PvP is that it used to be like, I am just an average PvPer. Like, I am your 1500 rated arena player hero. And then I don't know how long ago I discovered I'm probably not even average. So just normalizing the gear so that I don't feel like when the problem with having unnormalized gear is that if I go into a PvP scenario in like Battleground or an arena and I don't have any PvP gear, it's literally I am somebody else's whipping boy for, like a couple of hours until I have the minimum level of equipment before I can actually stand on my own without just getting destroyed by these other players. And I hated that. And other players like, well, we earned this PvP gear and you didn't. And it's like, well, that's great, but it is not inviting for new players. And one of the things that you kind of want to do is for people to feel welcomed into a part of the game that they would normally avoid. Normalizing the gear is a way of doing that. If you're a hardcore PvP player, you're still going to have that unlocked prestige system and those PvP talents, but at least your gear is not going to be the thing that is just destroying me. And the way that I think that it compares to is world PvP, world versus world in Guild Wars 2, where you could run into world versus world at level 10 and you would scale up to max level and you would run around with everybody else and they were at max level, but they had an advantage over you because they had completely unlocked their skill trees and you did not, because you were lower level. So it wasn't as, you weren't getting destroyed in quite the same way that you would run into in PvP if you had like back in Wrath of the Lich King, if you had no resilience on your armor and you went into a battleground, goodbye.
Yeah, it was no contest. Now you have a chance.
Well, especially in later in the expansion, when people were running around with like 40% resilience, which basically it reduced the number of the amount of damage that they took by 40%. And if you can imagine, if you didn't have the resilience to cut through that, you were just like dink, 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 and they were turning around and just like smacking you. And yeah.
Pretty much.
Right. So we have two more things to talk about quickly for the Legion systems. One is the graphics overhaul. And Flattuss, you said that you loaded it up for the first time last night.
Yeah.
Did you? How much could you tell that the graphics had been updated?
Certain models, for me, right off the bat, I was probably like, "What is going on? My computer's freaking out." I haven't had Warcraft even installed in my system. I had to reinstall it. So a lot even some of the new demon models are up to the Fel Reaver. Things have just been updated, completely overhauled. Which is weird seeing, because now it's well, the Goblin and Worgen models are the oldest ones in the game. So that's a little weird. But even then, the Goblin and Worgen, the Goblins are still look great. They still were on that cusp of we're implementing new things, and the Goblins were kind of the first test of that, kind of way back in Cataclysm, that they could do it. So I don't know. It's a little strange. I think maybe I don't know. Bears have been cool, upgraded. I just saw Banshee today. She was upgraded. So I'm stoked. I'm glad that they constantly upgrade. I think it's cool, and I think it bodes well for the future of the game. So that they have the tech, and they're putting in new tech, and they're putting in all these new graphics. So visually, when I logged in, once I got everything settled and went to Orgrimmar and was running around doing the Legion stuff, instantly I started noticing textures and how the graphics, even weather, they upgraded weather. Even that, the fog over Karazhan, was it was thick. It went all the way up to the tower. It was the first time. It's usually in WoW, the weather's well, here's some rain, it's down here, but then nothing up in the sky. So it was cool seeing the fog and how it went up to the tower in Kara and all that stuff. So
yeah, the old Ultra setting, they added, what was it? I think it was 3 or 4 levels, or was it just 2? They added more levels over the old Ultra, and you can really tune up the settings. And even running around Elwyn Forest, and Elwyn Forest is probably one of the oldest zones in the game. They've added a grass to it, and that's it's really nice. One of the other things I noticed is that I recently reinstalled Warcraft on several computers, and here some nuts and bolts talk. When Warcraft launched, 32-bit operating systems was the norm, and they beta tested the 64-bit operating system, I don't know, 3-4 years ago. Now it defaults to the 64-bit operating system, and if you can't run it at 64-bit, you have to go into the launcher and say, hey, run it at 32-bit. And that's that basically allows them to so much more room to hey, now we don't have, polygon budgets and stuff like that, and shader budgets. They can go nuts. Because the graphic cards are 100 times better than what they were when the game first launched, and so they continuously overhauling and polishing the textures and the models so that they look better. The game does not look like it is a 12-year-old game. It still looks cartoony. It still looks like it's straight out of a comic book, but I think that's the look that they're kind of going for.
They'll never change that look. Never, ever in a day. I mean, even when they updated the models, I was well, they'll never go realistic, because I think it's just easier for them to do this. Also, it makes sense, because if they started going realistic, their armor would look weird. Because their armor, that's how they get away with certain armor they have in this game.
Their armor already looks weird.
Well, it does, but I don't think I could see giant flaming shoulders in Final Fantasy 14. That would never make sense. It would never look good on the characters. I know it's a different game, but as realistic as as more realistic as Final Fantasy 14 looks, even though they're both high fantasy type games, I don't know. I don't think I could see giant pauldrons or moving tentacles, stabs and stuff like that. It's good.
One of the cloth helms that you can get is literally a tentacle hanging where your mouth should be.
Yeah, Cthulhu mask. It wouldn't go well. I don't like. That's how Blizzard gets away with it, and that's why people love, I think, Blizzard armor so much, because it's not always like, oh, here's like plate and chainmail. It's like, hey, look, like what was it? Like there was a couple, maybe Cataclysm, where one of the druids armor sets was a tree, like a haunted tree almost, and like I remember their shoulders like having a spider that would crawl out of the hole. Like it's very animated and alive. Like their armor's alive. Like and it's not always alive, but when you start getting in the raid tiers and stuff, like they tried their best to make the armor as alive as possible.
Yeah, and I think that one of there was a very steampunk looking armor set for mages where there were like spinning gears on the shoulders and on the belt buckle.
There was a shield too.
That's right. So it was the Cataclysm set, right, from the Dragon Soul raid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the shield dropped off of a Tauren on a boat?
Yeah, that's Dragon Soul. That's the raid where you kill Deathwing. So I think it's that set that had the whole like gear and sprockets and very steampunk look. My only issue is that the gear, I'm playing now a Forsaken mage, and I wanted my mage to look like a zombie. He should look like he straight rolled out of a grave, and they don't really have an armor set that fits that. Like rags and held together by stitches and stuff like that. They don't really have. So the last thing, we were going to talk about the draw distance. It is an impressive draw distance. One of the things that I noticed is that if you're in Stormwind City and you fly up and you look towards Westfall, there's a tornado that has been in the zone since Cataclysm, and it spins around, and you used to not be able to see that from Stormwind, but now you can. So you basically can see from the middle of one zone at least to the middle of the next zone over.
Yeah, that's about what I got. I could see, like, when I fly up above Orgrimmar, I could see the fire, like a fire lit from like a zone over, like in the camp. I was like, hey, that looks cozy.
And I am running a super sexy new video card, so yeah.
So, I mean, they're prepping themselves for the future of their game.
I got that written from my closing thought.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was it for the graphics overhaul. The combat overhaul, i.e. the ability pruning.
Can we talk about the animations for also the attacks?
And the animations.
Heroic Leap was amazing now. It looks so cool.
And they reduced the cooldown, so it's like you can heroic leap. So I don't know. I have
45-second cooldown,
which is nice. Also, they used to be that like heroic leap, like you could go past the distance, like you drag your mouse out past the distance of the leap. Now it's radial, like you can't go past. Like it only goes up to the point of where you can actually the furthest you can go.
That's not just on heroic leap. That's on all of the abilities that you used to be able to throw AoE or throw at a spell effect at this particular location at this distance away from you. It used to have like the green target indicator, and then when you got too far away, it would go red. They changed that now so that now it's green and it goes to the maximum distance. And then if you move your mouse even further away, it stays right where its maximum distance is. And so that's for like a blizzard. Mages have their blizzard spell. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be the same for blood decays and their death and decay ability.
It is.
And the animations have definitely changed. Again, they have more of a budget, so they can make the animations look better. I think Caeleste and I were talking. Our big complaint with that is that they added vocalizations during the animations, and so you hear lots of grunting and yelling during the middle of combat, and it's annoying.
And you know what? If it was better, I wouldn't mind it. But I'm serious. It is like English voiceover B-movie Chinese frickin' kung fu movie. Ha! It is awful. It is so awful. I think mine were better. Like Blizzard should hire me, and that says a lot because that was really super shitty. But they really are. They're terra bad in game. Like they don't sound heroic. They don't sound powerful.
I don't know. My orcs sounded pretty great.
The blood elves sound awful.
I have a female blood elf paladin that's a tank, and her freaking taunt is ha. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? She like half sings a huh noise. What? No. Fuck no. Fuck no.
I don't know. I kind of dig the ha. Like, I was like, that kind of fits Warcraft a little bit. Warcraft's almost like, I mean, like, Warcraft's a AAA MMO, but it delivers that B quality sound that you want. Like,
So bad.
There's some B horror content in this game, so it's fine. A moan is a taunt.
Anyway, so I will say that there are a couple of characters that I logged into, and the amount of ability pruning, it's significant. I'll just say Paladin. Their standard rotation is now like 3 abilities with cooldowns.
Prot Warrior is not a lot. Like maybe like 5 ability. Like I think I have 2 more buttons normally. I have two more buttons. One is only if used if I'm off tanking, or like maybe I have a chance to go like get in front of somebody and like take damage, intercept. So really it's 4 buttons and plus deep like buffs that I need to throw on that are situational. So it's really, really limited. And that's where that weapon comes into play, because that weapon does like add buttons and things and change stuff. So
I will say that, like, and this is going to go over the talent overhaul. When at the end of Wrath of the Lich King going into Cataclysm, they got rid of talents as a talent tree system, and they went to a talent specialization system. Used to be that if you were, you were a paladin and you could take, talents in the prot tree, in the holy tree, and the retribution tree, and you made your own class. And they moved away from that, and so that they went to the specialization concept, where you specialized as a retribution paladin and you only took talents in this tree. And so they've been really trying to focus in Legion on the fantasy of that particular class. And I think that they did really good on some of them, but on other ones, it's just like, it doesn't really, like, I don't know what they were going for.
So I mean, we expected it. That's how Warcraft is, though. They have prune abilities ever since vanilla. It's like, well, no, Burning Crusade, they added abilities. They didn't prune any. They just added
Wrath of the Lich King, they added abilities.
Yeah, I think ever since a Cataclysm, they started slowly pruning abilities back.
I would say that Cataclysm was when you had the most abilities, and then ever since then they've been pruning them down. What they used to do is that every time they launched an expansion, they would increase the number of talents that you'd get, and so you would get your next tier of talent abilities.
Because you're bigger and badder now. So like if you have a higher level, you clearly must have more abilities to use. I mean, it's logical.
I don't know if it's that so much. I think that I don't know. Like I get button like trust me, I get button fatigue. I get like I'm come from Final Fantasy 14 where there's like I got to hit like 7 like 12 buttons in my rotation.
I will say that even at its worst, Warcraft was still better. Okay, guys, get your drink better. At least it was better than Vanguard, because Vanguard you would script your abilities so that you would because your kick was on a different cooldown than your pommel, which was on a different cooldown than your heroic strike, and so you could script all three of them to go at the same time, and so you would literally write a macro to do all three of them at once. Warcraft has never been like that, so at least it's got that going for it. I do think that is the advantage of being able to basically prune down. It's because it used to be like my keyboard was mapped so that I had 1 2 3 4 5 6 shift 1 2 3 4 5 6 ABCD shift ABCD, and all of those were different abilities for different situations, and I can actually appreciate pruning it down. I just wasn't prepared for how much they pruned.
They pruned a lot.
You are not prepared.
Well, and one of the other things is that I think I actually miss from the previous systems, and Malator, he reminded me, it felt good when you were leveling up and you got a new ability. I remember leveling up in Wrath of the Lich King, and it was every other level you got an upgrade to the ability, or you got a talent. So you would basically go, if you went up to from 44 to 45, you would get exorcism rank 4, and you would get exorcism rank 5. And then when you went up the next level, you wouldn't get a new rank of your ability. You'd get a new talent point that you could allocate. And so every time you leveled, at least you felt like you were incrementally improving your character. Now it's level, and this actually goes back all the way back to that world's of the event system that we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, is that what do levels really mean? If I see it as a level 22 and you see it as the level 100, and we're both actually effectively doing damage to this mob, what do levels mean?
Nothing. How much HP you have?
It doesn't matter, because the mobs do proportional damage to you.
Maybe that's the tech they're aiming for. They want to see how well it works now. Then next expansion, you're bump levels. We don't even need it anymore. Just go through content. I don't know how they'll manage you going through content, but
yeah, I always thought that was the best way to do things. Is that
I agree.
That Draenor introduced or Warlords of Draenor introduced the system that you got Draenor perks, that you would get abilities that would only work in that zone. They actually introduced that type of thing with the Death Knight, that you completed this quest, you got a talent. I thought that sounds like a great idea.
The weapon could have easily been that for this expansion. You don't need levels. You could have just easily been all right, you unlocked a new talent in your weapon, and then you can help upgrade it. You could have done so much with and like I said, maybe that's just what they're going to do for the future. So
I would, and again, this goes back to that question of how do you get older veteran players interacting with newer players, and both of them enjoying the experience and getting something out of it. And if you could be hey, I've got my artifact weapon at this, and you've got your artifact weapon, as the beginner version of it, but we can still be in the same content. That's that's a reasonable compromise.
It is. The future is here.
All right. So we've been doing this for an hour and a half. That pretty much wraps up the conversation. Do we have any closing thoughts?
Buy Legion.
Let's go buy it. Spend your money. Give Blizzard all your money.
We tore apart Warlords of Draenor. Me and you. It was the worst expansion. It was the worst Warcraft expansion.
I logged in today, and it was I literally had to leave the garrison. If I have to stay in this garrison for 10 more minutes. I know I was trying to get my screen and all my add-ons fixed. It's I hated even just being it. I grabbed Pepe. I was you're coming with me. We're going. We're bouncing, Pepe. We're leaving. As long as Pepe comes with me to Legion, I don't give a shit. I don't care. Me and that bird are going places. Fuck that garrison.
Home is where Pepe is.
Yes.
I have a stuffed Pepe on my shelf. I used to keep him on my headset.
Pepe is the best NPC in that game. Hands down. That bird went through so much adventure. Like, that bird was the best thing. Once I figured out that that bird existed, I was like, this is the best thing in my garrison. It's you. Like, I had to walk out and just look at him and be like, you're the only one giving me hope today. So my final thoughts are, I think the Warcraft is Blizzard's reworking Warcraft so that it is a viable option for the future. They know they really do have tough competition, having still play Final Fantasy 14. I mean, Final Fantasy 14 is at 6 million players. It's clearly growing, so it is a sign that they need to do something. That doing the same thing is clearly not working, because there is another pay for sub content game that is clearly, getting subs. So they need to do something. Legion may be the step in the right direction. I think they're pulling a lot of heartstrings on. We have Illidan, we have demons again. You could be a demon. Things that people have asked for years and years. Like, we want to go to the Emerald Dream. We want Illidan to come back and have some sort of story. We want to level demon hunters. We like things people like. Nobody asked for Death Knights. They wanted demon hunters originally. So I don't know. I think it's a good thing. See where it goes.
So I really, really enjoyed Mists of Pandaria. It was not my favorite expansion, but it's by far my second favorite. And maybe it's because Wrath of the Lich King is like it was my first, so it will, it'll always be my favorite because it was the first. And I said that after Mists of Pandaria, I am down for Warcraft, the next expansion, which was Warlords of Draenor. And during the middle of Warlords of Draenor, I'm like, I don't know if I'm playing the next Warcraft expansion, because this garrison bullshit, I don't want any part of it. This is not fun. It's all of the people in my guild were sitting around in their own private garrisons, not interacting, not doing anything out in the world. They're just because in your garrison, you were getting the best gear. You were getting all the harvesting materials that you needed. And it was a mistake. It was Blizzard's mistake with Warlords of Draenor. And I wasn't even sure if Kai, do you want to go now?
Except that you love that feature, because how many months of Warcraft have you paid for?
But if there was another MMO that I could be playing, like EverQuest Next, for example, I would be playing that instead of still messing around in Warcraft.
You would have hated EverQuest Next just as much as you hated EverQuest 2.
Possibly. But they closed down Vanguard. There is no EverQuest Next. This was the option that I had.
Landmark sucks.
That's a different game altogether, though.
That's a different genre. It's not even.
It's
an
true.
MMO.
That's true. That's true.
It is an MMO. It's not an MMORPG. But the salvation for Legion was not actually the demon hunters for me. It was actually the Emerald Dream. And I'm like, okay, that's it. They've hooked me enough that I will get the expansion and I will raid enough to see the Emerald Dream. And then if I'm not having fun with the game, at least I finally got to see the Emerald Dream and I can walk away from the game.
He did say that.
However, the technology that I've seen in the pre-Legion expansion has actually got me pumped enough that I am like, this could be interesting. This could keep me playing Warcraft.
We'll see. I mean, they tend to make a lot of like promises pre-expansion.
Hey, and that's why I'm not. This is not me, saying with it as a fact. I'm just saying that there's enough going on in the world that it might actually be compelling enough to stick around through the entire expansion and maybe even into the next. But I'm not saying that for sure right now.
Well.
My other final thought is that, and Flattuss and I have talked about this ad nauseum every time we talk, there will never be a Warcraft 2.
You mean World of WarCraft?
Excuse me. There will never be a World of WarCraft 2. I made the statement when I first saw Cataclysm that if there was going to be a World of WarCraft 2, that Cataclysm was it, because all of the old quests in the world, they got rid of all of them. They remapped the entire questing system to go to be in line with their evolved concept, their how their zone should work, that you should enter into a zone and you should follow through the zone, and the zone should tell you a story through the quest as you go through it. That started in Cataclysm. They did it in Mists of Pandaria, and now they've done it in Warlords of Draenor, and I'm sure that we'll see that in Legion as well. I would say that with everything that they've put into the package for Legion is our World of Warcraft 3, because this world quest system where they have different quest buckets, they're getting rid of your glyphs and they're adding in this artifact weapon that will give you abilities and augment your abilities. It's completely new. It is the third iteration from the base game that we saw in vanilla.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I wouldn't say Wrath was.
Well, see, the other reason I'd say that Cataclysm is World of Warcraft 2 is because that's also when they put in the raid finder system. They added the dungeon finder system in Wrath of the Lich King, but the raid finder system came in Cataclysm. And then in Mists of Pandaria, we got the flex raid system where you can, they want you to be able to raid with the people that you can raid with, not to try and fill like, hey, we need 10 people, no more, no less. We need 2 tanks, 3 healers, and 6 DPS. They got rid of that. That doesn't add up. Yeah, it does. Okay. No, that's 11.
No, 2 and 3 and 6 is 11, honey.
But 2, 3, and 5, right? So 2 healers, 2 tanks, 3 healers, and 5 DPS. They got away from that, and they're like, as long as you have more than 10 people, you can flex raid. And then in Legion, or in Warlords of Draenor, they said like, well, now you can even heroic raid on a flex. We will adjust the content to fit your raid size. And I thought that that's huge.
Yeah. Donk in chat, this is Blizz knows this is their last chance to keep their player base because they screwed the pooch with Warlords of Draenor. They kind of did. I mean, I consume a lot of content. One of the contents I used to consume a lot of. I still listen to a couple of World of Warcraft podcasts, but like you can even tell like a lot of the podcasts rather stopped. Like they did last episodes like, hey, after and like, which is sad because they did really great shows. Like they did phenomenal podcasts, and they were just like, well, like they were so defeated after Warlords of Draenor. Like they quit their shows and their shows ended, and like a lot of people that did content like were like strictly like creating content based on Warcraft have moved on and like, well, I'm gonna expand out and do other things. So like
we don't know what that's like at all.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
and the biggest fuck up is that Hellfire Citadel patch 6.2 was released June 23rd of 2015. This is actually the first content that we've seen in over a year.
It's sad. That's really sad.
You can't. Who can do the same raid over and over again for a year? No one. We finished it. I mean, my heroic raid group isn't exactly fast or anything, but we had that done by February or March, and we had it on farm by April. And we're like, okay, now what? We're gonna sit around and do this over and over again? Nope. They stopped. They left, and they're playing other games.
Well, oh, by the way, if you've not gotten Friendship Moose, I don't know if you guys know about this. If you've not gotten the Moose yet, there is a hashtag going on Twitter right now, Friendship Moose. There's a group of people, a guild or a group of people that are running people through the content before the Friendship Moose goes away. Like they're just running it. Like there's no questions asked. They're doing it out of kindness of their hearts. So if you've not gotten it, go and get it. I guess just find out through the hashtag who you got to contact, and they'll take you through and carry you through the content so you can get the Moose. I got nothing else.
Even after actually, I'm not going to say it because it's a rumor and I need to verify it before I say it. There is a chance that the Moose isn't going away, but there's also a chance that when Legion launches, the Moose goes away and you can't get it anymore.
Blizzard, I swore, had confirmed that it is getting pulled out the day Legion goes live. It will no longer be obtainable.
Yeah, see, that's what I heard from Blizzard, but I also heard that a rumor that it was instead of being a guaranteed drop, it turns into a random chance drop after Legion launches.
They've done that before. They've changed things from guaranteed to random. They did it
and that would be okay.
Well, if anybody wants to help me go get a moose.
I have the moose.
I do not have the moose. Also, I'm not geared. I'm like 6 something on my warrior, and like I'm not like 94. I hit like 2 levels running Legion, like that Legion stuff. Like,
I was gonna say, just keep running Legion the invasions,
because the gear that drops in Demon Invasions is eye level 700. So just like it took me 2 days at the most to get a 700 eye level. I mean, it was just
Let's go do that. Go get my warrior a bunch of gear and then hit up that hashtag like, I want a boost.
I go with you. I will help. I will help.
Give me a boost.
Yeah, I've got a geared paladin that can help out.
I paid 35k for moose. Military should have found out that hashtag, bro. Could have gotten it for free. Gertis.
I don't remember how much Tannlin paid for my moose.
I need to find a friend that's got like nothing but like disposable income in this game, so I can get just like 1 million gold because I do not have any money. Broke.
All right. So that wraps up our World of WarCraft Legion systems. We had already talked about. Go ahead, Caeleste.
Just don't forget that I want to do better tonight.
Gotcha. I'll do the schedule and then you can do the do better. How about that?
Okay.
We will talk about the story of Legion sometime after the expansion actually launches, and people can go through the questing and see see what goes on in the world. We want to wait and allow people the time to discover the stories in the game on their own, and then we'll cover it sometime in September or late August. Oh, it is late August. Never mind. Sometime in September.
It launches
or October.
on the 30th of August.
Okay. I can read a calendar. So, our schedule for next week, Flattuss and I were talking about esports. Because he got into a little bit of a Twitter conversation about like adding new heroes during the middle of a season. And him and I are on the same page that you shouldn't do that. That's a disservice to the players. But we want to talk about esports, tournaments, participation, events, and what makes a fun, observable game and what makes a bad, observable game. And that's next week, August 21st. Not August 28th, Luci will be back from her vacation, and we will be talking about No Man's Sky. And then on September 4th is Labor Day weekend. And we will not be having a show that week. Caeleste, you want to do the do better?
So I love Blizzard. I've got the Illidan hoodie. I like my coffee mug. There's shit tons of Blizzard stuff all over. Like I am serious, ridiculous fangirl. Really ridiculous fangirl. Yes, Hearthstone tattoo. Dude, do better, Blizzard. If you're going to sell a boxed collector's edition set for your customers and you decide to allow people who have purchased the game ahead of time digitally to get access to that early stuff early, then do the same for the people who purchased the physical box set, because it's not fair. The only reason I didn't actually buy a physical box set is because I wouldn't get my Demon Hunter early. It should not be difficult for me to make a purchase of, and if you want to make it exclusive to, like, you have to buy it through Blizzard directly to be able to get that content, fine. If you need to make it to where you're not allowed to get a refund on it, you can't cancel the order, fine. But you should give customers early access regardless of the format in which they purchased it. The technology exists. You can make that happen. do better.
Yeah. So I've mentioned before that both my parents play MMOs. They both play Warcraft. For Christmas, 9 months ago, I bought the Legion for my dad so that he didn't, hey, Merry Christmas. Here's a copy of Legion. But here's the other problem. You can't actually gift a copy of the game to someone else.
Didn't they have that available option with Warlords of Draenor and Pandaria? I remember gifting it to people. What happened?
I don't know. You can't gift it to them. You can't buy a copy of the game and gift it to them. You have two options. You can buy a physical copy of the game and just have it mailed to them, which I did. But what it meant is that I pre-ordered the Legion for my dad, but he didn't have access to any of the Legion stuff because he didn't have the box. He went out and bought it himself, and he was just like, I just give the copy of Legion that you got to my mom when it shows up. And that pisses me off.
Yeah, I pissed me off.
In 2016, with all of the online ordering stuff, that they can't figure it out. There is a way to gift a copy to someone, but it doesn't quite work. What you would have to do is you would have to buy the battle.net gift cards and give them that, and they redeem it on their account, and then they use their battle.net balance to buy a copy of the game. That's how ridiculous it is.
That's so stupid.
Exactly. If they said that August 9th was when the Demon Hunter and stuff event was going live, that's when my parents should have gotten their copy that I pre-ordered for them. So yeah, do better, Blizzard. Get your online ordering stuff fixed. I'm ranting a little bit. It also happened to my friends that bought the collector's edition of Overwatch. If you bought the collector's box edition of Overwatch, you had to wait for the physical box to show up. And they did their open beta weekend as long as you had proven that you had bought a copy of the game. And guess what? If you didn't have the physical box, there was no way that you had to prove that you had pre-ordered it according to Blizzard.
There was at GameStop. I bought the boxed version of Origins, and they gave me a code at GameStop that allowed me to play the beta. So it's just like they just need to allow like a code or something that says, hey, listen, or give it out to resellers that say, hey, here, you buying the box set, no problem, here's a code that'll within, like, you have to activate your version of Legion within 10 days so then you can get to keep all your stuff.
Perfect. So the thing is that if you order through Amazon and you have Amazon Prime, you get a 10% discount or a 20% discount if you order through them, if you pre-order through them. And it's a nightmare. But okay, so we're like 45 minutes after our 1 hour mark. It's been a while since we've done a 2 hour show. I will camp out if Flattuss, if you want to do the show promotion.
Sure. I'll make it quick. Hey, guess what, guys? On iTunes, we do have some reviews. We didn't have anything written, but we did get some. We have 5-star reviews. So that's telling me that we are doing a very, very good job here so far. So if you want to help us out, go to iTunes, leave us a review, write something, and if you feel like we need to improve the show in some sort of aspect, let us know. Give us anything from 1 star to 5 star, anything you feel, and then let us know how we can do better. You can also do the same thing on Google. You can also do on Stitcher, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And then just let us know that you're listening and just tell us, like, hey, dummies, do this better. You can email us at info@loottable.net. You can go to our website at loottable.net. You can catch all our shows there, as well as our YouTube page. If you don't have a thing up for, or a specialized link for that yet, so if you would do us a favor and go to YouTube and search loot, was it loot underscore, or sorry, just search Loot Table. You'll see us. You'll see this mug, or you see our little Loot Table symbol. Go there, click subscribe. That helps us out. And if you have any questions for the show, you can tweet at us at loot underscore table on Twitter. Ask us questions there. You can send us email, like I said earlier, and we'll take your questions, and maybe it'll be a show, or you can ask us to join us as a guest host. We do that too. So thank you all so much. See you all next week. And Tannlin will be camping us out now.
Camping out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good night.
Thanks for listening. Send us an email at contact@lutable.net. You can contact our host on Twitter. Caeleste is at Blood Knight Kai. Lucitie is at Lucitie. Tannlin is at Tannlin, and Flattuss is at Flattuss. Lutable is a Desert Rain Studio Productions. Music is provided by MDK. Find him and more of his music at soundcloud.com/MDKofficial. Thanks for joining, and game on, adventurers.